Good afternoon. Did you have a nice break? Some coffee, the cakes were like, yeah. I'm going to talk about Perl and Amazon Web Services today. And I realized earlier today when I looked at my slides that the presentation should probably have been Amazon Web Services and Perl because the main ingredients will be Amazon Web Services. And Amazon Web Services is a massive thing, so it will be a narrow, short introduction. I will first talk about cloud computing in general, just to get a few terms into place. Then I will talk about Amazon Web Services, introduce a few of the resources that are available there. And then I will do a couple of live demos, running Perl on an EC2 instance, and trying to create a Perl Lambda running serverless. So let's see how that goes. First, a little about me. My name is Søren Lund. I'm from Denmark. I've been working with software development for more than 20 years. Many programming languages. I also like to work with automation, build automation, test automation, automated deployments, continuous integration, build pipeline, stuff like that. And for the last couple of years, I've been working at a small company as an AWS consultant. So we go out to companies that want to move to the cloud and help them with that. And yeah, it seems to be a good fit for me because one of the things about cloud and AWS is automation. But I have actually no real experience in running Perl on AWS because there have been no demand for that. No customer is saying, oh, we want to move this Perl application into the cloud. But I do know Perl, I do know AWS, and well, trust me, it will work. Cloud computing. It has had a kind of a bad rap because cloud is fluffy. And people have, what is that? It's up there. When I talk to people outside the IT community about it, and they say, "Wow," they looked up and say, "It's something when our stuff is gone somewhere in the cloud." I'm saying, "Yeah, well, no, it's not." I found this on Wikipedia. And the emphasis is mine. Cloud computing is the on-demand availability of computer systems, resources, especially data sources and computing power, without direct active management by the user. On demand. I mean, you just have computer resources that you can say, oh, I need a little more, a little less, I need this and that, and it's available. That's one really important thing. And you don't have all the maintenance. None of it. You don't have to build a data center. You don't have to buy hardware. You just have on demand. And Amazon, of course, was one of the pioneers. They started this almost 20 years ago internally, figuring out how to do it because they have this huge business online, and they needed some hosting. They needed infrastructure that could scale. And the first product they had was in 2006. Usually when you talk about cloud, you talk about these different service models. Infrastructure as a service, that's the most basic one. And that's the first one. That's one of the first services that were available both in Amazon and other places. And it's infrastructure. You can get a server, a virtual server, but you don't have to have the hardware. You will go on a website and say, oh, give me a server this size, and you will have it. Then you have platform as a service. Then it's a little more than just the hardware. Things will be installed for you. It will be a more complete package. And there's software as a service, which is really complete. That could be something like webmail, Office 365 would be software as a service. Platform as a service would be perhaps a database, where you still have to fill in the blanks, but you don't have to install it. And then came serverless computing. It kind of a little off there because it's not as a service. But serverless is really the dream of cloud computing, saying, oh, we don't have to think about servers at all. We don't have to think about, oh, how many CPUs, how much memory. It's just computing power somewhere. And one of the things that exists in the serverless computing realm is function as a service. And function as a service is that you say, oh, I have this little thing, a piece of code, and I just want to run it. Please run it for me. And you don't specify operating system or memory requirements or anything. You just push a piece of code and it will be available. And the two, infrastructure and function as a service, are the two subjects that I will talk most about today. Infrastructure as a service. Wikipedia again has a nice description here. Online services that provide high-level APIs used to reference various low-level details of underlying network infrastructure. So again, the point here is you have an API. If you have an API, you can create a program, a script, whatever, and interact with that. And that will give you access to low-level things like, oh, create a load balancer, connect it to this computer, oh, scale this out, whatever. And this, of course, was the first thing that people were really excited about, because suddenly you could control your infrastructure with scripting, with code. Function as a service is at the other end. Again, there's a nice Wikipedia thing here. Cloud computing services that provides a platform allowing customers to develop, run, and manage application functionalities without the complexity of building and maintaining the infrastructure. So you don't really have to think about, you only have to think about code, not about servers, and well, a little about deployment, but not really, because you just push it somewhere and then it will be available. So, Amazon Web Services. As I said, that's a platform I've been using. That's what I know about. There are others. Microsoft has Azure, and Google has their compute platform, and actually there's the cloud platform, and there's actually in China there's a big Alibaba, if you know the website that sells a lot of stuff. It's kind of the Chinese Amazon. They have a complete platform as well that looks a lot like they more or less ripped off all the terms and things from Amazon. But Amazon is the biggest. The last time I saw an article kind of measuring it was 50% of this market. So it's massive. And they started about 20 years ago. And then in 2006, the first service, S3, which is a simple storage service, was released. And S3 is, storage, and it's very resilient. It's, you can replicate it across regions. That means across countries. Often here in Europe, you will use Ireland as your main region because it's the oldest data center in Amazon, so they have all services. Then you have Frankfurt, they have most of the services as well. I'm from Denmark, so Sweden is nearby, and Stockholm has a data center. I think it's the newest one in Europe. It doesn't have everything, and that can sometimes be a thing you have to think about, that, oh, I can't use everything because the customer wants this to be located close to them. Then came SQS, a simple queue service, same year. And then in August, the EC2, the Elastic Cloud, the Elastic Compute Cloud was launched. And these three services are actually, you can build systems on that. EC2 is virtual servers, S3 is the storage, and the simple queue service will make it possible for you to communicate between your applications and services. But now, there's so much more. Someone looked up in January this year and said now there's 137 services across 23 categories. There's this page here where you can go in and click down in all the different categories. There's IoT now, there's big data, there's all kinds of stuff. And many of these services have sub-services. Databases, RDS, as the service is called, exist as Oracle and as MySQL, as Postgres, and there's Aurora, that is Amazon's own variation of Postgres and MySQL. So they have kind of tuned that for their environment. So there are lots of stuff to look at. So if you want to try some of these things, you of course have to sign up. It doesn't cost you anything, but you will have to enter your credit card details. And Amazon has this free tier, and there are 3 different variations of that. There's always free tier. For example, the Lambdas, you can have 1 million free requests every month. So for a small little project for yourself, you will be able to use Lambdas forever for free, I guess, because 1 million requests every month is a lot. EC2, you will get 12 months free, and you will get 750 hours every month. So that's a little more than hours in a month. So you could actually run a T2 micro instance for a whole year for free. Or you could run a bigger one and run out of free time, and then you would have to pay. And of course, if you begin playing with this, remember to destroy resources, because else suddenly you will pay for it, because you pay for what you use. And then they have some trials. They have something called Device Farm, for example, where you can test Android, iOS devices, real devices automatically, and you get 250 device minutes for free. And when they're done, you have to pay. But what I will show you today, you can try that for free. So after you sign up, one of the first places you will go is the management console. That's a web console, and so often when you say, oh, you can do that in the console, it means go here and find the service and click around and modify it, whatever. Usually you won't do that in a real production environment, because you would want to automate that, you want to script that, but to play with the services and discover new services and figure out how they work, the console is great. Here I've launched an EC2 instance. There's this launch instance button. You click on that, and you get a little guide that asks you, oh, how big should this be? What image do you want to load, and so on. And you can see it's yellow there. It's pending. I just created it and started it. And then there's the AWS CLI, the command line tool. And it's a Python thing, so you can use pip install AWS CLI to install it. And it's like an Uber command, where you say AWS and then the name of the service, and then you can do commands on that. You can most services has a describe command where you can say, oh, give me a list of all the services, modify this service, delete this service, create a service, whatever. You need the console to create some tokens for you that you will save in your home directory to be able to use the CLI tool to access the resources. And then there's the SDKs, which is providing API wrappers for different languages: JavaScript, Python, PHP, .NET, Ruby, Java Code, Node.js, and C++. So now you can program something that interacts with resources. It could be something where you have some requirement that you will boot up a server or create something. Maybe you have an old application and you will move your storage to S3, and then you can interact with that. But there's no camel here, there's no Perl. Luckily enough, someone wrote a Perl module called pause. It actually looks at the Python code, the official Python code, and parses that and then creates a Perl API. So it should be a full API, but obviously that doesn't mean it works just because you can parse everything and have all the same functions available. I have not used pause really beyond a simple hello world. But it's there, and that means you can write Perl programs to interact with the AWS resources. And then there's CloudFormation. This is infrastructure as code. These are simple templates in JSON or YAML that describes your resources. And when you deploy a template, it's called a stack. And a stack can include several resources. So you could have a website that has files hosted in S3 and a web server running on EC2 and other stuff, firewall perhaps, all in one file, and deploy that, and then you have a complete website. It looks like this. Well, this is empty, but the skeleton of a file like that looks like that. There's descriptions, some parameters, resources, and outputs. Resources are the main things. So, running Perl on an EC2 instance. There are some CloudFormation templates available, snippets. I took one of those and modified it a bit. Then there's a linter, also written in Python, by the way, that can check if your CloudFormation template is correct before you try and upload it. I'm a little behind now, so I'm going a little fast. EC2 is a virtual computer, and Amazon has some machine images with their own Linux on it. And the old one has Perl, the new one does not. You can actually run it in Docker to see for yourself and play with it locally before committing it to the cloud. And you can have these user data sections in the template. This template is in JSON, so then this really becomes weird, but there's a small bash script here that will install cpan- and install a module for you. A better solution would probably be to do this in some automated build and create an image yourself instead of doing this every time the machine boots, because this will be every time the machine boots. So, let's see. I can't use my old software. I have something here, a little script. It's available on GitHub. Now it's creating a stack. It's waiting on it to complete. And if I go here to the console, this is the CloudFormation console, and do this, oh, something is popping up. So I'm creating an EC2 instance right now. And while that's moving along, we have the Lambda. And again, there's a good Wikipedia description. I think I'll skip this. There's a module called AWS Lambda. And that makes it possible for you to write Lambdas in Perl. And it does that by providing a small runtime that you can either use. The author has runtimes running. I've used those. You can also upload your own and use your own runtime, would probably be the best to do. Because Amazon doesn't support Perl out of the box. It only supports Node and Python, Java, and some other programming languages. So, I'm going to look at I don't have time to create the Lambda, but I actually have the hello world here in Perl. And down here you can see the code, I hope, yeah. And and now the EC2 is ready. And you can see here that I talked about the outputs. There's some outputs here with a public IP address and DNS and stuff like that. And I actually created the script to automatically grab that and log into the machine. So let's see. Do I have a Perl? I actually have a Perl. So this machine could be used for running Perl, right? And I have the final little demo. The invoke script here did a whole thing. I will just show you the script. Here it is. Yeah, here's the AWS command, right? AWS Lambda invoke. And then I have a function name, hello Perl. That was what you saw on the console before. I put a little payload, and the result is a file, so the result will be stored in the file. And down here, I actually put an API gateway in front of the Lambda, so that means I can use a REST call, in fact, to call this. So I use curl just to call this hello Perl again, and the result was this. I invoke it. I get some JSON back about the status code, and here was my body is hello from Perl. Here I'm using curl, and then the status code is, of course, the HTTP status code out there, and down here I grab the result, which is still hello from Perl. I don't have any more time now. A final note is Lambdas are the way to go. EC2, you still have a lot of stuff to maintain. It has an operating system that needs to be patched, updated, so on. The Lambdas, they scale automatically. They're so much better to use when using AWS. That doesn't mean that you never should use EC2, because you might have a system running on your own servers, and you can do what is called a lift and shift, where I say, okay, let's just grab that and put it here. EC2, I can script this to create that, but if it's possible, any new development, I would look into writing Lambdas. I don't know if there's any time for questions, but no, you can come. You can come and ask me afterwards. I will be here. Thank you.